Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. I am your host, Matt Morris. Folks, today it is Wednesday, October 15th, and we're doing a little bit of an late morning, early afternoon emergency special broadcast today because President Trump, this was just thrown up on his official schedule. President Trump is going to be giving a breaking news announcement. He's going to be having a conference with the FBI and the media and all of us Americans across the country tuning in. So we have some special bombshell breaking news emergency announcement coming out of the FBI that Trump said, you know what, Kash Patel, FBI Director Kash Patel, I want to be here for this one. I want to be a part of this one today. Sometimes Kash Patel comes out and he talks to the public without President Trump. President Trump is personally involved in this one. In fact, I believe we are inside of the Oval Office. We are inside of the Oval Office today. I will show you President Trump's official schedule right here, folks. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you're new here, please make sure to like and to subscribe to the broadcasts. We are live on Rumble, Matt Morris TV, and on YouTube, Matt Morris TV. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's going to be a big day, and this announcement is scheduled to take place about 18 minutes from now. So we're live a little bit early because we have some introductory information I want to go through with you folks first. But as you can see here, 3 p.m., that is U.S. East Coast. In the Oval Office, the president participates in a press conference with the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation with the White House press pool. And so, folks, today, frankly, I was looking around before I went live with you guys to see, are there any hints? Do we kind of know what they might be talking about? Of course, we can speculate something with Antifa. We know there are ongoing Antifa investigations trying to rip this organization, this international terror organization apart. Where's the money coming from? Who are the people on the street trying to shut this down? So it's maybe, I think it's fair to assume relating to Antifa, what's going on in Portland and Chicago. Of course, if you go up a level, I think a lot of us here in this community, we are eagerly waiting for the day that President Trump invokes. It is called the Insurrection Act of 1807. Which would allow President Trump to deploy the National Guard and whoever else, maybe the Marine Corps, whoever else he saw fit to help combat these domestic terrorists. So today there is a chance, no promises. There are rumors swirling around. We can speculate right now that today we are going to have an official presidential invocation of the Insurrection Act, but maybe not. So we need to wait and see. It's going to be 16 minutes until we actually go live inside of the Oval Office. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a live feed outside of the White House. We are keeping tabs on this, so we are not going to miss anything. Let's talk about some stuff that has been going on earlier this morning. This is breaking news report coming out of Fox News. The cartels have been working with left-wing terror groups in the United States, offering thousands of dollars for the assassinations of top border officials, including Border Commander Greg Bovino. We are going to take a look at this. Folks, there is all types of insane stuff. By the way, can we give a little shout out? I want to give a shout out to the special co-host of today's broadcast. His name is Jack. You can see him back there. He's a good-looking guy. He's got a nice hat. He's been back there a couple days, but I said, you know what? Why don't we put a hat on top of that guy? I think he's looking good. Everybody say, hey, Jack. Okay, let's get back to the show. What is going on with these cartels and domestic terror organizations?
5 to 10 grand for kidnapping of ICE agents or Customs and Border Patrol agents, non-lethal assault, $50,000 for the assassination of high-ranking officials. Here's Greg Bovino. He works in Chicago.
Before we keep on playing this is absolutely insane. This is absolutely insane. This is the cartels, the Latin American cartels. You know, all Sinaloa, blah, 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 Tren de Aragua, maybe. That's a narco terror organization. There's a lot of cartels. They are willing to pay $5,000 to $10,000 for the kidnapping of Border Patrol agents. $5,000 to $10,000. They need to be alive. They're going to try to ransom them, get information out of them. Intel gathering and doxing of border security agents, $2,000. The assassination of high-ranking border officials, $50,000. when we talk about, this is a dangerous word to use. The word it's the W word, war. This almost seems like a war. This is the type of stuff that you would see in the event of a war.
Says he had a bounty on his head. Watch.
We've got $50,000 bounties on the heads of federal law enforcement officers. We have criminals ramming vehicles, criminals bringing guns to protests. This is not regular street crime here in Chicago.
No.
We have assaults on Border Patrol agents, ICE officers, and our allied law enforcement agencies every day, often multiple times per day. And
look at this. You have masked immigrants, many of whom I'm assuming are illegal, throwing rocks. This happened yesterday, throwing rocks in Chicago at border. These are actually ICE vehicles, DHS vehicles as well. Good God. We are an occupied nation. I can't imagine how anybody can deny that this is a problem.
And again, these assaults, the lethality of these assaults is increasing.
How can your officers respond to that effectively?
Well, there's power in numbers. There's safety in numbers. Secretary Noem, ever since that terror attack we saw in Dallas, she's been hardening our ICE facilities. President Trump has called in the National Guard, a very prescient and great, strong leadership we've seen from the President of the United States. But, we are seeing a coordinated, highly organized waging of war on our law enforcement on the streets of Chicago. These
Yes,
men and women
are
are simply enforcing the rule of law and doing their job, and yet there's these foreign terrorist networks who are going after them. They're using a tiered system of bounties to go after them, whether it be doxing their family members, kidnapping, even murdering these brave men and women.
Foreign and domestic and foreign, by the way. In fact, this is maybe footage from the same event that we were just kind of watching a moment ago. I'm going to put this on the full screen, folks. I don't know if you saw this. This happened yesterday afternoon in Chicago. And I'm going to play this footage. It is absolutely unhinged. But first, real quick, Trump FBI announcement. And this is at 3 p.m. Eastern, because I see some people coming in saying, hey, where's the FBI announcement? Okay, so bear with me. But as you all know, whenever we're doing breaking news live coverage like this, I always like to go live with you folks 20 minutes or 30 minutes early, kind of lay the foundation, open up the broadcast, and then we'll segue into the show. So right now we are on standby doing a little bit of a recap of stuff that happened earlier today, yesterday afternoon, and it will presumably relate to some of the information that we're going to hear today at this Donald Trump FBI announcement, which is scheduled for 11 minutes from now. So everybody, thank you for being here. Make sure to subscribe and to follow and to like today's video. This is what went on in downtown Chicago yesterday afternoon. Absolutely insane.
When you first got on scene and you were able to talk to some neighbors,
massive standoff,
and some witnesses there on the scene, and describe to us what initially.
Judy, wait 1 second.
Okay.
I see Chicago police are arriving and putting themselves in the middle of the situation.
Yep.
Right now, it appears there might be someone in command, from what I can see, approaching the area. I'm not sure if this is in an attempt to start dispersing the crowd. But
That's
we
one hell of a
have
crowd.
just in the last few seconds seen Chicago police who had remained at bay now starting to put themselves in the middle of the, protesters are starting to throw rocks. We're going to get away from
They're
this
throwing
right
rocks
now, Judy.
Okay, Michelle, you take care of yourself.
Now, we're going to finish the video here. This is why I have to tell you, okay? If we do not solve this problem now, if we do not successfully execute mass deportations now and get all of these illegals out of the country now, it's going to be too late. We can barely manage the problem as it is. It is a manpower, it is a human resources issue. It takes X number of ICE agents to deport Y number of illegal aliens. It's a mathematical equation here. And already, as things currently are, barely we can solve this problem as it is. It is already incredibly difficult to solve this problem and crack down on these sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. It is a manpower issue. And if we wait another 5, 10, 15 years to try to do this, it's going to be too late. It has to happen now. It has to happen now. we won't even have the option 5, 10, 15 years from now, because imagine there might be 2, 3, 4, 5 times as many illegal aliens in the country. At that point, the numbers don't work out. The math doesn't math. You just are not going to have the people to do it. It's not possible.
Going to let her get off the phone. We really appreciate it. Get to a safe place. So what you're watching, what you continue to watch, is exactly what Michelle has been describing. This, again, at the intersection 105th and Avenue N. Last Michelle said as protesters started throwing rocks, and you can see that there is some chemical being deployed right there at this intersection. Just prior to this, you did see what appeared to be Chicago police officers and some commanders there trying to have some type of a dialogue.
Real quick, folks, we have witnessed scenes like this across the country time and time again, every couple weeks, every couple months for a decade now, whether it be Antifa, illegal alien uprisings, Tren de Aragua taking over apartment blocks. We have seen situations like this time and time and time and time and time and time again. Should we invoke the Insurrection Act? Should we? Yes or no? If it were up to you, if you are president of the United States of America, do we invoke the Insurrection Act? Is this habitual problem that we have? Because these are not one-off instances. This is a grander issue, whether it be domestic terrorists, hordes of illegal aliens assaulting ICE officers, DHS officers, whether it be foreign money pouring into the country, whether it be Tren de Aragua, various other Latin gangs taking over entire city blocks, apartment complexes. This is a problem. There's a saying that I love. You guys have heard me say this before. As a nation, we get what we tolerate. We, as a nation collectively, we have tolerated this behavior for far too long. And that's why we have it. That's why you want to know why. It's not a mystery. You want to know why we have this behavior right now? It's because we have tolerated it. For decades, we have turned a blind eye to it. Now we need to open up our eyes and shine a light on all of this insanity going on in the country. Shut it down. Stop it. Put an end to it. And like I said, if we do not do it now, it is never going to happen. If we can't do it now with the momentum that we have coming out of the 2024 election, we have the House, we have the Senate, we have the popular mandate. All of us support it. If we can't do it now of all times, when we have all this momentum, is it going to happen 10 years from now? 20 years from now? No, I doubt it. At least I wouldn't bet on it.
With the protesters there at the intersection, it would seem that they were trying to disperse the crowd and maybe usher them
this is nuts.
Off the street so that the agents could possibly move their vehicles. And
Yep.
It was at that point that Michelle noticed that protesters started throwing rocks, and this is the end result.
Well, and real quick, you want to know why this entire instance, this situation manifested yesterday afternoon on the streets of Chicago in the first place? It's because you had a group of 3 or 4 ICE officers that were trying to carry out a targeted deportation. What happened? The entire community came out to protect their beloved illegal alien. You have 2 or 3 or 4 ICE agents go in, try to carry out a specific targeted deportation of violent criminal illegal alien, and you had dozens of his friends and family members and members of his community that came out to have a standoff with federal law enforcement as they try to do their job and deport violent illegal aliens. That is what led to this. This is insane.
Earlier, we had heard that there were pepper balls being sprayed into the crowd because someone had thrown eggs, or some neighbors had thrown something
Nuts.
at the agents. And now reports of rocks being thrown. And that was coming from Michelle, a reporter right there on the ground. She has now gotten off the phone with us. They're trying to get to a safer place, of course, but we can continue to watch this picture. Fortunately, with Chopper 7 up in the air, we can still continue to monitor what is happening here. Again, if you are just joining us here on
So this was
stream,
yesterday,
this
folks.
situation has been very tense for the last.
So this was yesterday afternoon, folks, but I wanted to give you a recap of what is going on, what continues to go on across the entire country, because today President Trump is going to be making a special Oval Office bombshell announcement alongside FBI Director Kash Patel. I was saying a couple moments ago, normally FBI Director Kash Patel, he'll come out, he does it maybe weekly. He'll give announcements or updates, whatever the FBI is doing by himself. today, President Trump is directly involved with this announcement specifically. This is abnormal, to say the least. This is happening inside of the Oval Office. So I do think we're going to hear something a little bit outside of the norm today. We got to see what it is. Carolyn Leavitt, press secretary, White House press secretary, chimed in here. I'm just taking a look to see if anything is happening yet. Not quite yet. Give me one moment here. I'm going to pull up the official YouTube page of the White House. They oftentimes will go live around the time that... Okay, so they are not live yet. Okay, so we're still on standby. We're still early. We're still 4 minutes early. I'm just getting ahead of schedule here. Okay, so Carolyn Leavitt actually chimed into this entire dynamic a couple hours ago, earlier this morning. Take a look at what she had to say.
It is law and order versus lawlessness. Democrats want to coddle criminals. Republicans want to lock up criminals. That's it. I mean, it's very simple. And again, we see this resistance from judges. We even see it from police departments in some cities, like in Portland or in Chicago, where the Chicago PD is actually told by the Democrat mayor to stand down when a federal law enforcement agent was being rammed by vehicles.
Yep.
That's an unprecedented action.
And the woman was a semi-automatic.
Correct. Strapped to her feet.
Yeah, she ended up getting shot in a defensive measure. She drove herself she ended up being okay. But it's just an insane story.
That video specifically, we saw that video about a week and a half ago, where the illegal alien woman and her husband or boyfriend was in the passenger seat. She was ramming into this ICE vehicle. They ended up running her off the road. She was driving aggressively. She crashed into the curbside. They had to open fire. They had to mag dump into her vehicle because she was driving in just super insanely aggressively, and she had a gun in the vehicle with her. It just, listen, this is beyond the pale. We need to get a grip on this situation. In fact, you know what? I'm going to say something here. This FBI announcement that is scheduled to take place alongside Donald Trump in the Oval Office 2 minutes from now. I got to say, I need to be honest here. We need action. We need firm, concrete substance. I understand it takes time to put together cases and to enact your mission plan and to put stuff together. We need action now. Okay, I am personally, I'm a little bit over the rhetoric. I'm over the talking. I'm over the tweets. I'm over the Truth Social posts. Let's actually do something. Let's actually go scorched earth today. In the Oval Office, whether that be Insurrection Act or some other serious, actual, substantive play that some action we're going to do today. Let's actually do something serious, and let's stop posting about it. Let's stop tweeting about it. Let's actually go scorched earth, because we need to. We need action. We need substance. We need to shut this stuff down, is what we need to do.
It is, and it shows how these Democrats have put politics above public safety, and they are preventing local and federal law enforcement from working together. When you talk to cops on the street, they want to work with the feds. They want that backup, that support. They want to be able to communicate, share intel, and go arrest bad guys. And as our FBI director says, we need to let cops be cops. And that's what we're...
Okay, you know what? Listen, I'm a common sense guy. I'm just a regular American dude. I'm just a common sense guy. If you have all of these sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, the cities are in the states oftentimes, they are operating in direct and open defiance of federal law, of the democratic will of the American people, in defiance of the outcome of the 2024 presidential election. The American people have voted time and time again to shut this stuff down. Still, these cities and states are operating in defiance of all of those things. You know what? Then rip away every single thing that they receive from the federal government. Every single federal taxpayer dollar that they get, every single federal benefit, cut them off. Cut them off. They don't get a single dollar for anything, period, nothing. If they are going to try to subvert this country in the way that they are, and they're aiding and abetting illegal alien invaders and domestic terrorists, far-left domestic terrorists, cut them off. No ifs or buts, no holds barred, period. And on top of that, after cutting them off, while cutting them off, flood these cities, flood these states with hundreds or thousands of federal resources, DHS officers, ICE officers, whatever you have at your disposal. Go scorched earth. Do it. It's all or nothing. Because, and the reason I say this is the reason why these people, these far left freaks, these radical progressives, they want us dead. And if they don't want us dead, they want us replaced. We need to be totally upfront and honest about what the dynamic here is. They are celebrating the death of conservatives in the country nationwide. They are opening up the border, trying to replace conservatives, actual American patriots like us, with immigrants, illegal aliens from the third world. Nobody voted for this, okay? They will not stop until we are dead or we have been replaced. That is the unfortunate truth, and I wish it wasn't the case. We need to shut this down. We need law and we need order in the country, period. Pritzker, what does he have to say? Governor of Illinois.
I don't trust at all that the Trump administration is going to hold any of these people responsible. We will. We're going to call for accountability. And indeed, you know, the tables will turn someday. These people should recognize that maybe they're not going to get prosecuted today, although we're looking at doing that. But they may get prosecuted after the Trump administration for the things that they did because the statute of limitations won't have.
Okay, folks, what is he saying? Pritzker is now threatening the heroes of ICE and Border Patrol with criminal prosecution for doing their jobs and enforcing the law. This is a governor. This is the governor of Illinois who is saying that ICE officers, DHS officers, the second Trump is out of the White House, if the Democrats ever get control of the levers of power in this nation, they will abuse those levers to criminally pursue every ICE agent, every DHS agent, God forbid, regular American conservatives like you and me, innocent civilian people that aren't. And you know what? We should believe him, because this is exactly what they did during the Biden era. They did this for 4 years. They were taking political prisoners. They were weaponizing the DOJ, the FBI, the CIA to criminally pursue patriotic Americans like us. We should believe him. When he tells us what he wants to do, we should believe him. Now, were we live inside of the Oval Office yet? I'm getting all riled up here. That's the Associated Press. I'm taking a look at the official White House page. The official White House page is not live yet. Sometimes they are a little bit behind schedule. Okay, that's fine. You guys know sometimes they can be 10 or 15 minutes behind schedule. That's fine. We have stuff to talk about today. We are on standby. President Trump alongside FBI Director Kash Patel are meeting inside of the Oval Office today, giving a big announcement. The FBI has been up to something. I've said a couple times now, normally Kash Patel, he comes out, he gives these FBI updates on his own, solo. Normally President Trump is not there. Today's announcement is different. FBI Director Kash Patel will be making an appearance inside of the Oval Office alongside President Trump. They're going to be releasing some big new piece of information. They normally don't do that. Okay, this is a little bit abnormal, a little bit different from how the FBI normally gives out information. And so today, I think we do have some amount of reason to believe that we're going to hear something a little bit interesting, something a little bit out there, you know, whether it be invocation of the Insurrection Act, which is, you know me, you know what I want. We might see that, or something else akin to that. They might be releasing some information about their ongoing investigation into Antifa, or their plan to hold some of these sanctuary state politicians accountable for their subversive anti-American behavior. We have to see. We have to see. Now, some good news I would like to share with you folks. The State Department, this is the official government page on X, they have released some information that I think you folks are going to like. Take a look at this. The United States, this is what they posted yesterday evening. The United States of America has no obligation to host foreigners who wish death on Americans. The State Department continues to identify visa holders who celebrated the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk. Here are just a few examples of aliens who are no longer welcome in the United States of America. An Argentine national said that Kirk, quote, devoted his entire life to spreading racist, xenophobic, misogynistic rhetoric, and that he deserves to burn in hell. His visa has been revoked. A South African national mocked grieving Americans, grieving the loss of Kirk, saying, quote, they're hurt that the racist rally ended in attempted martyrdom, and alleging, quote, he was used to astroturf a movement of white nationalist trailer trash. His visa has been revoked. Another one, a Mexican nationalist said that Kirk, quote, died being a racist, he died being a misogynist, and stated that, quote, there are people who deserve to die, there are people who would make the world a better off dead. Talking about Charlie Kirk, his visa has been revoked. A Brazilian national charged that Charlie Kirk was the reason for a Nazi rally where they marched in homage of him, and that Kirk, quote, died too late. His visa has likewise been revoked. Later, Bozo, a German national celebrated Kirk's death and attempted to justify his murder, writing, quote, when fascists die, Democrats don't complain. Visa revoked. He did it in German. Unbelievable. And it's, we have one more here. A Paraguayan national charged that Charlie Kirk, quote, was a son of a B word and died by his own rules. Visa revoked. So I wanted to share this with you folks. This is under the direct order of Secretary of State Marco Rubio. They are revoking the visas of these people, folks. Right now, we are on standby. We have a live feed outside of the White House right now. We are waiting for President Trump to step in. This FBI press conference with Donald Trump was scheduled to begin 7 minutes ago. Oftentimes, President Trump, he kind of works on his own schedule. So he is a little bit behind schedule, but that's fine. We are on his schedule. He is not on our schedule. However, any minute now, we're moving around. Any minute, President Trump is going to be going live inside of the Oval Office with FBI Director Kash Patel. And we're going to see what this big bombshell announcement is going to be. So I appreciate everybody here for bearing with me sometimes. They do come out a little bit late. They got an airplane taking off here. Look at that. Speaking of airplanes, little bit of a side tangential note here. Earlier today, about 90 minutes ago, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth was riding Air Force Two, I believe it's called, and he was flying over Great Britain about 90 minutes ago. They had an emergency landing. People were freaking out. They thought the plane might be crashing. What's going on? The plane echoed out an emergency squawk code 770, I believe is what it was called. Everybody was saying, man, is Hegseth going to be okay? And ultimately, they landed at the nearest airport. They had an emergency landing over the United Kingdom. And I guess they had their windshield in the airplane. The airplane windshield had a crack in it. I don't know if the entire windshield blew out or just a little micro crack. I don't know. But there was a little bit of a concern with Pete Hegseth early this morning, but as it would seem, everything turned out being okay. Now, back to Carolyn Levitt real quick. Yeah, that was earlier today. Back to Carolyn Levitt. She chimes in about this entire visa revocation dynamic. Take a look at this.
If you hate our country, if you are inciting violence, if you are siding with terrorists, we have revoked the visas of pro-Hamas individuals in our country who are engaging in some of the campus shutdowns and locking down American universities. We are not going to tolerate illegal behavior. We're not going to allow you to side with assassins and terrorists. Having a visa to this country is a privilege. It is not a right. And if you are wishing death upon America, you won't be welcome here anymore.
I'll tell you what, my wife is here on a green card. She is a German immigrant, and when she was going through the customs and immigration, when she was trying to get her green card originally, I was there with her. She had to sit down and she got interviewed by an immigration agent of the federal government. They do this for everybody trying to get a green card, and they ask a pretty serious battery of questions. Are you a communist? If so, you're not allowed. Did you know that? If you're trying to get a green card, you cannot be a communist and come in the country. You're not allowed to get a green card. Have you ever served in any sort of foreign paramilitary organization? Have you ever publicly supported any terrorist organizations? These are questions. These are rules that you have to follow. I was there. I saw it in person when my wife was being interviewed. I was in the same room watching it happen. And it's like, nope. Thank God my wife is one of the good ones. Now, so listen, we have very clear rules. If you are on a green card or a travel visa or a student visa like we've seen, yeah, guess what? If you are a member of a foreign communist organization, if you have been part of a foreign paramilitary organization, if you have ever publicly supported a terrorist group, we really don't need to have you in the country. That's kind of my opinion. Let me know if you agree. That's my humble opinion. Now, JD Vance kind of chimed in as well this morning on this entire topic. I'm going to see if we are live yet. The White House is not live yet. Do we have a look at the Associated Press yet? Real quick, take a look. They are also a little bit behind schedule. Okay, that's fine. We're only 11 minutes behind schedule. I've seen worse. We've all seen worse. JD Vance, what have you got to say?
You have to acknowledge the problem before you can actually solve it. And right now you have a number of people who actually think words are violence. And if words are violence, then one reasonable response to people saying things you don't like is to kill them. And we have to just completely reject that in the United States of America. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to get out there to Ole Miss to go and do this, because I think that engagement really matters. And it's not most people, right? This is the good news. It's not most people who think that Charlie, meaning most people on the left who think that Charlie deserved to die because they said something that they had disagreed with or that they even found offensive. But it is a large enough and powerful enough minority. It's pretty well funded. There's a lot of resources behind it. There are a lot of powerful media voices behind it. And it is, I think, the most significant domestic problem we have in the United States of America is this justification of violence, which then, of course, leads to the real thing.
The justification of violence is nuts. And perhaps the most in-our-face example of this, I guess you don't really hear it a whole lot now, but definitely 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, we heard it every single day, was that if you refuse to acknowledge that a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man, you yourself, just by refusing to agree and go along with the trans agenda, the trans rhetoric, you are perpetuating a transgender genocide. Your rhetoric or your refusal to go along with their rhetoric, you are genocidal. Okay, well, this is what JD Vance here is saying. He's saying that if you can convince these people on the left that everybody that disagrees with them is a genocidal, fascist, neo-Nazi, blah, 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 whatever, then it's pretty easy from there to get to actual real-world violence, or for them in their sick, twisted brains to justify carrying out acts of real-world violence, right? And so it's not really a surprise that we have all of these acts of far-left domestic terrorism. I am sure his name is Tyler Robinson, the alleged Charlie Kirk assassin. I am sure that in his twisted far-left brain, he thought he was doing the right thing. I have no problem believing that he in his psychotic brain thought he was doing the right thing, because he, for his entire adult life or teenage life, he had been conditioned by the left-wing media, by left-wing social media, in addition to mainstream media, that Charlie Kirk is a Nazi, Charlie Kirk is a constitutional threat, Charlie Kirk is dangerous, Charlie Kirk wants to kill you, Charlie Kirk is evil, Charlie Kirk is blah, 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 blah. And if you're a psychotic young adult, if you have some mental health issue, some proclivity for some issue like that, then your brain, you get it twisted. You say, oh wow, Charlie Kirk is a threat. I got to take him out, right? And this is what has happened time and time and time and time again. We most certainly do have a problem of far left extreme violence in this country. And it's this rhetoric coming from the left that is really manufacturing this entire dynamic in the first place. You know, from the left, it's sort of this wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You'll hear people on the left, they'll say, in this country, we kill Nazis. And then from there, they'll go, and also Donald Trump is a Nazi. Wink, wink. In this country, we kill Nazis. And everybody that voted for Trump is a Nazi. Wink, wink. This is what they have done for 10 years, time and time again. It is no surprise whatsoever that people on the far left continue to carry out acts of domestic violence. And by the way, this is all part of their design. This is all part of their design. JD Vance, he goes on to say, real quick, are we live yet here in the Oval Office? Momentarily, everybody, stand by. JD Vance.
Real unity comes from acknowledging the reality of the situation that we're in, right? Unity requires everybody being on the same page, having some commonality of values. And real unity requires us to acknowledge the fact that while, yes, there are crazies on both sides, we have a country of 330 million people, you're going to be able to find crazies on either side. Political violence is just a statistical fact. It's a bigger problem on the left. And if you had, God forbid, somebody on the left who was assassinated, I'm sure that you could find one person who would maybe celebrate it or one person who would be offensive. But the fact that it became mainstream to celebrate Charlie's death, to talk about the fact that he maybe deserved to die because he had said hateful things like, we don't want women playing, or we don't want men playing in women's sports. Just the effort to try to justify his murder, to lie about things that he had said, so as to justify his killing. It was just really disgusting and really disgraceful. And one of the things that we just have to, I want our country to be unified again. I really do. I mean, I'm the Vice President of the United States. I really do feel like I represent every single person, even the people who say disgusting things. But if we're going to have real unity in this country, we're all going to have to acknowledge that killing people for what they think and what they believe is wrong. And right now, that violent impulse is a bigger problem on the left than the right.
Yeah, I agree. If I can articulately explain this, I'll try to express this idea here. I would bet my life, I would bet all of the money, I'd bet every possession I have that a larger number of people on the right would disavow violence against members of the far left than members of the left would disavow violence on the far right. Over here on the right, we are the party of societal civility, peace, discussion. When you compare it to the left, at least, good Lord, what he's talking about following the assassination of Charlie Kirk, now it's been about 4.5 weeks, we have seen hundreds of thousands of people in this country, members of the left, Democrats in this country, that were celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. We saw senior ranking members of the Democratic establishment, of the progressive establishment, that were saying, because they felt like they had to, they were saying, yeah, we disavow political violence, but Charlie Kirk dedicated his entire life to spreading Nazi, fascist, sexist, transphobic rhetoric, and so he kind of deserved it. We heard a lot of that. We heard a lot of these conditional disavowals. They were saying, yeah, I disavow political violence, but there was always a but. We disavow it, but ... Charlie Kirk was kind of a transphobe, Nazi, neo-Nazi, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So he kind of had it coming. We heard a lot of that from members of the left. Absolutely disgusting. I'm with J.D. Vance here on this. I totally agree with J.D. Vance as far as this goes. We need everybody in the country to completely and unapologetically, unconditionally disavow political violence. If your disavowal of political violence has a series of conditions following the word but, the operative word but, then we're not really on the same page. I can't really have a conversation with you. I'll be the first to say it. I actually don't think that members of the far left should be indiscriminately shot by vigilantes. I don't think we should do that. I don't think anybody should. I believe in the government. I believe in our legal system. I believe in English common law, where we have a judge and a jury of our peers. I believe we should go through that route. I think we should not be engaging in vigilante justice. I know, very brave to say that, but the reason why I say that is because I feel like many people on the left do not actually reciprocate that sentiment. They are totally on board with political violence and acts of far left domestic terrorism. Now, are we live yet with President Trump in the Oval Office? We are not live yet, folks. I want to tell you something real quick. I'm going to kind of clue you in. We are all on standby right now. Today at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is actually 19 minutes ago, Trump is live. Well, I don't see Trump live anywhere. I will check. Hold up one moment here. I've got two feeds. I'm seeing some people. Listen, I will ask, do not spread any fake news. No fake news in the chat. No, I do not believe that Trump is live. Ladies and gentlemen, we are still on standby. He is about 20 minutes behind schedule. That's okay. We're waiting for him. I'm taking a look at Right Side Broadcasting Network. He is not live. The official White House page is not live yet, and the Associate Press is not live yet. Now, regularly, I will tell you, oftentimes Donald Trump is 15, 20 minutes late, so this is not particularly surprising. That's fine. We're on standby. All of us boys, we are on standby. But at least we have a beautiful view of the White House lawn. It seems to be a nice day in Washington, D.C. That's where we're looking at right now. And any minute he will be live. Now, let's talk about what they're going to be talking about today. Okay, so like I said, President Trump is scheduled to participate in a press conference with the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation today in the Oval Office with the White House press pool. We are going to be watching this today. Folks, I've said this a couple times here. Normally, Kash Patel, FBI director, he normally gives press conferences once a week, kind of letting the American people know what's up, what's going on, what has the FBI been working on. Well, generally speaking, President Trump does not tag along to these FBI press conferences put on by Kash Patel. Today is special. Today is unique. In fact, in the last 9 months, as far as I can remember, this is the first time that President Trump has teamed up with Kash Patel in the Oval Office for a special emergency announcement like this. We have not seen something like this. This is a little bit abnormal. I would expect something a little bit more grand than we normally get from the FBI. Now, this could be a big bombshell, some big news about Antifa. We know right now the FBI and the DOJ, they have been investigating who is funding Antifa. Where's the money coming from? And that information, actually, a lot of it is already public. Now we need to hold these people accountable. It's coming from people like George Soros and the Open Society, the George Soros Open Society, various other NGOs, for instance, like the Arabella Network. So there's lots of these foreign, and by the way, NGO stands for non-government agency. These rootless, multinational globalist organizations that are pumping money here and there to try to spread their anti-American, anti-nationalist, anti-populist, anti-Trump, anti-America first agenda, really to rip our country apart. And so we need to shut that stuff down. We might be talking about that today. We might also be, Lord, I did a little pray there. We might be seeing the official invocation of the Insurrection Act. We have been talking about this for weeks. We have known, we've had White House Trump administration insiders, one of which being Steve Bannon. They have come out and said Trump's finger is on the trigger. We're talking about the Insurrection Act of 1807. By the way, what does that Insurrection Act do? The Insurrection Act allows President Trump to deploy the U.S. military domestically, which normally he cannot do. He will be able to supersede the governors of the respective individual states, take their National Guard, deploy them where he sees fit. Why? Because there is an insurrection in this nation. We have our nation has been flooded with tens of millions of illegal aliens. We all know that to be the case, many of which are cartel gang members, narco-terrorists. We know that to be the case. Beyond that, we have members of Antifa and various other far-left domestic terror groups. This is an insurrection. We have seen this time and time again. We know it to be the case. And so President Trump might be invoking the Insurrection Act today. I hope so. I don't want to get my hopes up. But we have heard murmurs and whispers coming from inside of the Trump administration that they will be doing this soon. President Trump's finger is on the trigger. When is the right time to do it? Maybe today. So that might be the case also. Or it could be something else that the FBI has been working on. You know, recently we saw the FBI in conjunction with DNI Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence. They released all of these findings relating to Obamagate and the Steele dossier and this entirely fabricated story back in 2016, 2017 that Trump was colluding with Russia. You know what? Now that I say that, now that those phrases leave my mouth, we might have the announcement today that, I'll take a look. Are we missing anything yet? We might have the announcement today that we have more subpoenas or we have more criminal prosecutions, criminal cases into these people, into people like Obama and Brennan and Clapper. Comey is already in the hot seat. That's already underway. So this might be something related to that. I don't know. We could be talking about CCP influence in the country, of which we know there is a lot. In fact, we know that the CCP has been funding much of what's been going on with Antifa. A lot of the Antifa funding is coming in a roundabout way from the CCP in a coordinated, explicit endeavor to destabilize the United States of America. We might be looking into that today. Lord, now that we're sitting here, running through all of the things that we might be talking today with the FBI and Donald Trump, it's like, man, we've got a lot of problems. The fact that I can sit here and rattle off 10 different individual problems that we might be talking, it's like, man, we've got a hell of a lot of problems. We have a lot of issues, okay? We need to be having FBI bombshell press conferences every single day of the week. That's how many problems we have. Good Lord, we have a lot of issues. Now, luckily, we've got Trump back in the office here, and we have a competent administration to actually start cracking down on this stuff. There was something else that was in my head that we might be talking about today, but I was rattling so many things off, it slipped out of my mind. It's even worse than it sounds. I don't know. We've got so many problems, I can't even remember all of them, to be honest. Okay, so we got to see. And I'm taking a look around right now, and we don't have any live feed yet. So you know what? I think what we should do while we have a minute here, I'm going to head on over to the White House Rapid Response page, and I'm going to take a look with you folks, and we're going to see what is the White House Rapid Response page taking a look at here. Some stuff maybe is worth talking about, other stuff maybe is not. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, what is this here? This is from the desk of President Trump. He has just signed an order directing the Secretary of War to ensure that active duty U.S. military personnel will continue to receive their paychecks on October 15th, despite the Democrat shutdown. This must be day number 14. Correct me if I'm wrong. Day number 14 is today, maybe 15 of the ongoing Schumer shutdown, the Democrat shutdown, the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez shutdown. And folks, so this is what it's like to have a real leader. President Trump said, listen, we are not going to have our vulnerable Americans and our active duty military personnel, our veterans, missing the benefits that they have earned for themselves. We're not going to tolerate that. We're going to find money. We will find money somewhere. In fact, I'll tell you something we can only assume. President Trump, he actually publicly said the other day, President Trump said the other day, two or 3 days ago, that a very wealthy man privately reached out to President Trump, offering to pay the salaries of every single veteran in the nation during this shutdown. Whoa, that's a lot of money. Which wealthy man, can you imagine any wealthy man in this country that would be willing to step up, that has the type of money that would be willing to pay the paychecks of every single, I'm thinking it could only be Elon Musk. It could only be Elon Musk. I'm not even sure any of the other ones care enough to do it. I think Elon Musk probably does care. That's a hell of a, I'd have to get out my calculator, my TI 89 Silver Plus edition that I used back in high school, my graphing calculator, to figure out how many active duty military personnel do we have, multiply by how much money does an average military paycheck, how much is that, multiply that. Whoa, that's a lot of money. I don't even know. You got to plug that into ChatGPT, but yeah, I would guess that is Elon. Now, luckily, we don't need to do that. President Trump has found some funding elsewhere. Thank God these people should be taken care of. The Democrats obviously could not give one crap about what's going on here. So let's see what else the White House Rapid Response page is looking at right now, because, folks, we are on standby waiting for this FBI press conference bombshell with President Trump. They are, at this point, 29 minutes behind schedule. So we're going to wait a minute here. They will be out any minute now, very soon, I'm sure. Now, what does this have to say? The Wall Street Journal editor-at-large, Gary Baker, on the Democrat shutdown. What's going on here?
Look, I think the more this pressure is put on them, and again, if pressure does rise from their own constituents, many of these who are government workers, we see, so there are 53 Republicans in the Senate. A couple of Democrats have already come across to support reopening the government. I think this pressure is quite smart. I think it will. I think Democrats must understand that they're not going to gain much politically. Again, despite the media's attempts to blame Republicans, they're not really going to gain much politically from this. And the risk of the costs rising, both in terms of people not supporting them, as Bessent says, yes, it's true that shutdown Schumer, as we like to call him, is holding the government hostage because he's worried about a challenge in the Senate to his own Senate seat in New York from the left if he caves. But ultimately, the pressure to get the government working again, to get some of those centrist Democrats, not Chuck Schumer, but others in the middle who are getting nervous about this, I think that pressure will rise. Look, I think
need 5 more Democrats. Already 3 of them have flipped. They are voting alongside the Republicans. Ladies and gentlemen, the official White House page is live. While we wait a minute here, this is going to begin momentarily, literally any second now. The official White House page is live. I'll take a look at the Associate Press. Do we have a feed from them yet? No. Okay, so we're on standby with the official White House page any second now. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to reopen the government, we need 60 votes in the Senate. 60. There are 53 Republicans in the Senate, 52 of which have been consistently voting to reopen the government. That means one Republican is not voting to reopen the government. His name is Rand Paul. Rand Paul is voting alongside the majority of the Democrats. So we've got 52 Republicans that are saying, hey, listen, we need to reopen the government here. Oh, well, is this live here? What the hell's going on?
He forged a personal bond with
No, this is yesterday. This is him at the Charlie Kirk Memorial. Folks, this is the Charlie Kirk Memorial yesterday is what RSBN is playing right now.
He put America first. He really put America first. And ultimately, Charlie became...
Yeah, I don't know why they said that this is live. This is actually not live. I don't know why they're playing that. So a little bit misleading there. We are going to continue tuning into the official White House broadcast. Okay. Yeah, no, I don't know why. I'm sorry. A little bit confusing. I'm not sure why they're doing that. Okay. So we are tuning into the official White House broadcast. While we wait, we will continue talking about this government shutdown. We've got 52 votes, which means that we need eight Democrats to come on over. Now, 3 of them already have. 3 of them from day one pretty much already have come over. One of them is Fetterman. There's 2 other Democrats whose names I'm blanking on right now. But the point is we need 5 more Democrats or Rand Paul and 4 Democrats. You do the math. Chuck Schumer seems to have a pretty firm grip on these Senate Democrats. He's saying, no, do not, no. So we're at an impasse. We need 5 more votes to reopen the government here. Now, I will tell you, there are a couple conspiracies. We have talked about all of these, of course, on this channel already, time and time again. I would suppose there are 3 big conspiracies why the Democrats are doing this. The first one is that Chuck Schumer is afraid of getting primaried in 2028. He would lose his seat in the Senate and get replaced by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. AOC's approval ratings amongst Democrats are pretty high. Chuck Schumer's approval ratings are pretty low. Frankly, I think he is right. He would be rightly scared of losing his seat in the Senate. He should be scared because it's a total possibility. And so the logic is that Chuck Schumer is intentionally shutting down the government to try to garner support amongst his fellow progressives. He wants to seem like I'm fighting back against President Trump. I'm a progressive. Look at me. I'm a fighter. So that is most certainly a component of this. Another big component here that we've talked about also is that the big No Kings protest, the No Kings riots, are scheduled for this Saturday, October 18th. And by the way, folks, I will be here all day with you. I'm going to be here in the morning, in the afternoon. And hey, listen, my mom is actually flying into town this weekend. It's lining up. It's going to be a rough weekend. I'm going to have to say, listen, Mom, I'm sorry. I know you flew up here, but I got to go live on YouTube and Rumble. I got to cover the No Kings stuff. So my wife and kids are going to spend time with my mom, and I'm going to be here with you guys covering this this No Kings event this weekend. But the idea here is that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, they want the government to be shut down during the No Kings protests, riots on the 18th Saturday, so that they have something to talk about, so that they have another talking point. They can be marching through the streets, open up the government, blah, blah, blah. When it's like, hey, it's you guys that shut the government down. You guys are the ones that shut the government down in the first place. Also, a little side note, if Trump really was a king, he would probably just decapitate all of these people. And thank God he's not. I don't want anybody to be decapitated. It's kind of one of our things here in America. We don't have kings. So, but if he was, he would probably just throw these people in jail. He would deploy the royal guard. and he would start just chopping people's heads off. And he's not. You might note Trump is kind of going slow and working through the courts and fighting his way through the legal system here. He's escalating things to the Supreme Court. That doesn't sound very king-like. Does it seem like the king would let the radical progressives in the federal judiciary shut him down and appeal after appeal in the Supreme Court? That's not very king-like, is it? I don't think so. So he's most certainly not a king. Most certainly. And then the third theory as to why Chuck Schumer and the Democrats might be orchestrating and manufacturing this shutdown. And by the way, this is my favorite theory because it is the most conspiratorial. I love this theory. In fact, I take credit. I actually came up with this theory a couple days ago. I said, man, maybe that's the case. It is possible that Chuck Schumer is actually doing this to destroy the Democrat Party. It is possible that Chuck Schumer is bitter and resentful, and he has grown to hate his own party. It is possible that Chuck Schumer, keep in mind, Chuck Schumer, he's been in Congress since the 1980s. Okay? Chuck Schumer, this is no endorsement of Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer is not as progressive as the modern Democrat Party. Chuck Schumer he's a relic from a past era, so to speak. Chuck Schumer is not as progressive as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Chuck Schumer is not as progressive as Ilhan Omar. Chuck Schumer, he might say, listen, also listen, this is worth noting here too. I think this could be a big part of it. Chuck Schumer is a Jewish man. Chuck Schumer has spent the last 40 years of his professional political career advocating on behalf of the American relationship with Israel. Does the Democrat Party really support Israel these days? Do the progressives give one crap about Israel these days? No, they don't. In fact, I think it's fair to say there's probably a lot of anti-Semitism, okay? Anti-Jewish behavior, anti-Israeli behavior at a minimum amongst the progressives. And so Chuck Schumer might be scorned. Chuck Schumer might be saying, you know what? They're talking about replacing me. They're saying I'm too old. They're saying I'm not progressive enough. They're saying that, they're not, they're blaming me for everything for being Jewish and that the party doesn't support Israel anymore. You know what? Then I'm burning this party to the ground. All right, then I'm going to burn this party to the ground. This is an interesting theory that Chuck Schumer is actually manufacturing this shutdown to explicitly harm the Democrat Party. Not that he's a lover of Trump or the Republicans, but that he's just so bitter against the way that the progressive movement has turned out, the way that the Democrat Party has changed over the last 45 years in his professional career. That could be that could be a part of this as well. It's a curious idea to say the least. But anyway, the government is shut down as it has been for 14 or 15 days now. 14 or 15 days. Really, we don't know, but it's worth noting that Chuck Schumer has, on 4 or 5 instances already. Chuck Schumer, he helped put this budget together in the first place. This is this continuing resolution budget we're talking about here. This budget was actually put together and passed in the Biden era in March of 2024 with unanimous approval from the Democrats. And then Joe Biden signed off on it. Chuck Schumer built this budget. He has voted for it time and time again. He's voted for it initially. He helped construct the budget. He's voted on continuing resolutions of this budget time and time again. But now he voted for it just a couple months ago when Trump was in office. Now he doesn't want anything to do with it. What's going on here? The timing is weird. We have a minute here. I should probably take a look at some super chats here. This is Charles, $20 super chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. He says, you say we need to blindly trust in law and order. That's not working in Portland, Chicago, Boston, or LA. What do we do when the opposition will not listen, will not follow a law, and anything done to enforce just escalates? President Trump has been in the White House for 8.5 months. Okay, things are ramping up. Things are escalating. This is something I don't mean to call you out. I'm talking more big picture here. This is a weakness that I see on the right. Is this? It's this idea that if things don't happen now, if every single problem is not solved now immediately, If all of the damage the Democrats and the progressives have done in this country, if it's not fixed now immediately, that all is lost, it's over, it's time to give up, it's time to black pill, nothing is happening. Actually, I would contend that if you've been paying attention for the last 9 months, 8.5 months, things have been happening. I think the Trump administration has made some really big, really positive strides towards fixing this country. The reality is, during the Biden administration, an incredible amount of damage was done to the country. It takes time and money and human resources and boots on the ground to fix that damage. And let's be honest, let's be blunt here. Beyond the 4 years of the Biden admin, we have decades of ineffective Republican and Democrat administrations that sold this country out. Trump is in 9 months. Like, the fact that Trump has not been able to fix 9 months, in 9 months, 40 or 50 years of damage to this country, I'm not going to blackpill over that. This is the first time that we have had positive momentum here. We are making changes. We are fixing things. And here we are.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's great to be in this beautiful Oval Office. It never looked so nice. We're getting great compliments, and you see outside how that's come out. It's been great. We make a lot of improvements to the White House, and we're doing that. One of the things you should be looking at is the Palm Court, because that's been totally redone. So we like to preserve and make better the White House, and that's really what's happened, and we're getting tremendous reviews, and we appreciate it. But we're here for a different reason. It's called Operation Summer Heat, which is an appropriate term in light of what we're doing. And early yesterday morning, I returned from the Middle East, where we celebrated a historic agreement to end years of suffering and conflict. Amazing. Every country came together. I mean, even the enemies came out and totally endorsed it. Everybody, I've never seen anything like it. Nobody's seen anything like it. And just as we are forging peace and stability abroad, we're also restoring peace and safety and stability at home. And you see that in Washington, D.C., maybe better than any place, because we got there, and within 12 days it was very good. And within 30 days, it's been as safe as any city in the country. It's been great. Took out 1,700 people, got them out. These are career criminals in many cases, and people that shouldn't have been allowed in by the Biden administration. Historically, the summer months have been a time when violent crime soar, as you know, but not under President Trump. Today, we're announcing the results of a sweeping law enforcement effort known as Operation Summer Heat. We were in many cities that people didn't know about. We kept it a little quiet, and it had a big impact, and you'll hear that in a second. But over the past few months, FBI offices in all 50 states made crushing violent crime a top enforcement priority. That's what they did, rounding up and arresting thousands of the most violent and dangerous criminals. And these are among the most dangerous and violent people in the world. They were allowed, in many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases, they were allowed in by a very foolish, actually stupid, open border policy. Just anybody could have come in. They emptied out their jails, their prisons, their mental institutions. They emptied them into our country. And the people behind me have done an incredible job, because if we didn't have that administration, it would have been so much easier. They allowed millions of people in this country that shouldn't have been allowed, including over 11,000 murderers, half of whom murdered more than one person. And many of them are gone now, or they're put in prison, because we don't want to have them come back. So we literally put them in our prison, which we don't want to do. But we bring them back to their countries. Working with state and local partners, the FBI arrested over 8,000 violent criminals during the course of this period. In major cities like in New Orleans, Nashville, we saw a 250% increase in arrests. And we really went after the bad ones. These include 725 individuals wanted for violent crimes against children and murderers. These arrests are in addition to the work of our historic federal task forces that Make D.C. Safe Task Force has been unbelievable. I mean, the job they've done, it's incredible. And it's been so nice, because so many people, they're going out to dinner and they're having dinners. They didn't go out for 4 years. And now they're going out 3 times a week. Restaurants are opening. Restaurants are full. And usually that means a lot of good things. But restaurants that were closed are now opening up. and everybody's happy. It's nobody's ever seen anything like it, actually, and everybody feels safe. You can have a child walk right through the middle of Washington, D.C., and nothing's going to happen. We were losing more than one person a week in Washington. They're being killed on an average of over one a week. The Make D.C. Safe Task Force has been incredible, and the Make Memphis Safe Task Force is having very similar results. It's much earlier, but we've been there for a week and a half, but I'm hearing the results are pretty incredible, and you'll hear about that. They're mobilizing more than 20 federal agencies for the largest law enforcement operation targeting violent criminals in American history. As a result of these efforts, violent crime declined nearly 20% nationwide compared to the same period last year, and it was the safest and most peaceful summer in 2 decades. And honestly, we haven't really even gotten going yet. If we didn't have to fight all of these radical left governors, we could have had Chicago taken care of, as an example. They had, in a short period of time, 4,000 murders in Chicago, and we have to listen to this man stand up and say that we're bad people. And the people of Chicago are walking around with MAGA hats. You have women, beautiful black women, walking around with MAGA hats. Please let the president in, and we don't care how he does it. They're not interested in National Guard or Army, Navy, bring them in, Marines, bring in the Marines. They just want the crime to stop, and more so because of the success that we had in D.C. I think if we didn't have that success, nobody would even believe it. So I want to congratulate all of the incredible law enforcement professionals joining us today, especially Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's terrific, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who is a fantastic legal talent. He really is. He's a great guy, too. And, of course, FBI Director Kash Patel. They have worked so hard on this and other things. Since the start of the administration, the FBI has arrested over 23,000 violent criminals, more than double the number arrested in the final year of the Biden disaster. The FBI has also destroyed or severely disrupted more than 170 organized criminal enterprises and gangs, 1,600 of the most violent gangs, and confiscated over 6,000 illegal firearms. And they've tracked down and arrested 4 fugitives on the most wanted list. 4 of the most wanted. Actually, 2 of them were the most wanted fugitives in the world. There's still much more work to be done, which is why the FBI continues to work alongside the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of War to defend. And Pete Hegseth has been fantastic, by the way, on this too. On other things, but on this too. To defend law and order and combat violent crime, arrest illegal aliens, and make American cities the safest in the world. And when I campaigned, I talked about crime, but I never knew that we were going to get into it like we did. You know, I mean, I used to watch these cities with the murders. Chicago recently had one deal where they had 11 murders in one weekend, and they said, well, yeah, but it was a holiday weekend. They actually told me that was the reason, like it was okay because it was a holiday. It was Labor Day. These people are the worst. They really have to, they better, I tell you what, the people in Chicago and the people in places like that can be fixed. At some point, it gets to where you can't fix it anymore. It's too far gone. Yeah. And we have some cities like that. But these are great cities that can be fixed. I'm going to be strongly recommending, at the request of government officials, which is always nice, that you start looking at San Francisco. I think we can make San Francisco. There's one of our great cities 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and now it's a mess. And we have great support in San Francisco, so I'd like to recommend that for inclusion, maybe in your next group. You'll get great support. Every American deserves to live in a community where they're not afraid of being mugged, murdered, robbed, raped, assaulted, or shot. And that's exactly what our administration is working to deliver. I didn't realize I was going to make this such a big factor in the administration. I didn't really campaign. I campaigned on crime, but I never thought we'd go into every city and take a really safe city that we've all been living with for years and make them safe. And now it's like a passion for me, and it's a passion for the people behind me. So I didn't get elected. I did get elected for crime, but I didn't get elected for what we're doing. This is many, many steps above. And I want to thank Stephen Miller, who's right back in the audience right there. I'd love to have him. I love watching him on television. I'd love to have him come up and explain his true feelings, but maybe not his truest feelings. That might be going a little bit too far. But Stephen, thank you for doing an unbelievable job. And the people of this country love you, I'll tell you, and they love what you say about crime and stopping crime. So now I'd like to ask Director Patel to say a few words, and then Pam and Todd also. And I just want to congratulate them. This is an amazing thing. And we're just at the start. We're going to go into other cities that we're not talking about purposely. We're getting ready to go in. And when they go in, like Cash as an example told me that people didn't even know. 5 months ago, they went into Chicago, and they started doing a lot of work in Chicago. And we brought the numbers down a little bit. And but that really was just preparatory work for what we're going to do with the surge. We're going to have a surge of strong, good people, patriots, and they're going to go in, they straighten it all out. So a lot of these cities we're already working on, but we don't do it with a big flavor. But in a little while, you're going to see some numbers that you're not going to believe. And I think you'll probably start with Memphis, because I'm hearing the numbers are much quicker than we even thought possible. But again, D.C. it speaks for itself. Chicago is going to be okay. We're going to save Chicago. And I told you, and I told them, a very respected man, the head of the Union Pacific, said, "Sir, save Chicago. It can be saved." And the way he said it, it was like, can you believe it? We're trying to save Chicago. But I understood exactly what he wants, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to save all of our cities, and we're going to make them essentially crime-free, like other countries have crime-free. If you go all over the world, you go to the world, you hear Afghanistan and you hear all these different places. Our crime in certain cities is worse than anything they can even imagine. And we're not going to have that any longer. It's going to stop, and it stops right here. Cash, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Gang
what I'd
violence.
like to do is just
It's
highlight
gangs.
some of the outstanding work that the men and women of the FBI have been doing. And thanks to your brave leadership and the mandate you were given by the American people to not only defend the homeland but crush violent crime, you tasked us with our great partners at the Department of Justice and the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General to start making arrests and bring prosecutions and safeguard our cities. And you said it, this is just the beginning. In just 7 months, I hope the media takes a look at every one of these charts, because these are the best numbers for fighting crime in U.S. history, and it's only 7 months in. And to do that, our vehicle to do it of choice was Operation Summer Heat, which the FBI architected to go after violent criminals. And in just a 3-month span, you had 8,700 arrests of violent criminals. You had 2,200 firearms seized off the streets permanently to safeguard our communities. You had 421 kilograms of fentanyl seized. Just to put that in perspective, that's enough to kill 55 million Americans alone. You had 45,000 kilograms of cocaine seized, and thanks to our Department of Justice partners, you had 2,100 indictments in 3 months, from June to September alone. Mr. President, that in and of itself would be historic for a 4-year presidency. You did that in 7 months because you let good cops be cops, and you partnered us with the right people at the Department of Justice to put the handcuffs on and bring them to court and put them in prison. And if that weren't enough, when you look at the year, for the entire 7-month period that we're talking about here, if you look at the past 4 years of the Biden administration, 16,000, 17,000, 15,000, 15,000. That's the number of arrests year over year of violent felons in this country for the Biden administration. Mr. President, in 7 months, you have 28,600 arrests of violent felons in just 7 months alone, because of your leadership and the dedication of the men and women at the FBI who want to go out there and do the job they were prevented from doing because that department used to be weaponized and politicized. And this is what happens when you take out the fangs of weaponization. This number is historic by every metric. 28,000 people have been arrested, violent felons alone. And then when you go over there and look at some of these charts, if you don't mind, I'll just hop over here.
That's like 2 times more than normal.
Look at the metrics.
They doubled it.
For not just violent crime, but the homeland. Mr. President, during your administration, the FBI has found and located 5,400 children. That is a 30% increase year to date over the last administration. Violent crimes against children arrests alone are up 10%. Gang arrests are up 210% in the last 7 months alone. And transnational organized crime, which Stephen Miller has been a great partner in, is up over 12% alone. These numbers are historic just as a snapshot. But just so people don't think we're focusing on violent crime alone, the national security mission, Mr. President, under your leadership has never been stronger. We have gone after espionage activities against our main counterparts in China, Russia, and Iran. In China alone, we've had over a 50% increase in espionage arrests alone in prosecution. In Iran, we have had a 50% increase, again, in espionage cases. And in Russia, we've had a 33% increase in espionage cases alone. When it comes to counterterrorism, year to date, we have 125 arrests this year versus 100 last year, year to date alone. And when it comes to the cyber criminal activities, which are some of the largest enterprises plaguing everyday Americans, we at the FBI have put out a mission to go after cyber criminals like never before. Last year, they had in total 191. This year, you already have 252 arrests. 52 arrests of violent cyber criminals who are stealing from senior citizens, who are violating our children's rights and freedoms, and who are violating everyday Americans. These programs are record. And two of the things I'll finish with that I'm most proud of, Mr. President, this FBI. Fentanyl. As you know, it's a scourge that is killing our youth, 100,000 plus a year. To date, the FBI has seized 1,900 kilograms of fentanyl. That's enough lethal doses to kill 127 million Americans alone. To date. And if that weren't enough, Mr. President, you said we have to go after the worst of the worst. And you empowered our Department of Justice, our Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, and the Deputy Director at the FBI led the charge, not just on summer heat, but he also led the charge to the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives. These people have been on the run for years. And in 7 months, you captured not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 of the FBI's most top 10 fugitives. 4. Wow. Just to put that in perspective, Mr. President, the Biden administration captured 4 in all of 4 years. You're on 7, and we're going to get to 10. We're going to get to 10 of 10. This includes a lady who murdered her 6-year-old handicapped child and fled to India. We got her in 2 months. This includes a narco trafficker. This includes a sex trafficker. This includes another first-degree murderer and gangbang. These people were on the run because of the prior administration's reckless policies that destroyed our communities, and you came in and with a mandate said, go after the worst of the worst. This is just the beginning. This is what happens when you let good cops be good cops at the FBI. Mr. President, I just want to thank you for your incredible leadership, our great partnership with prosecutors who know how to bring cases and make sure these arrests stick. And that's what the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General have led the charge across this country. Because arrests without prosecutions are meaningless. We are deterring criminals from doing this activity. We are preventing criminals from coming into America, and we are absolutely crushing violent crime like never before and defending this homeland, sir. And not to mention, I almost forgot this one. It took you, sir, 2 weeks to get the Abbey Gate bomber. Joe Biden had 4 years to look for him. You got him in 2 weeks, thanks to the interagency effort by the FBI and the CIA, went to Pakistan, and now 13 brave warriors who were sentenced to murder because of disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. They have justice, their families have a peace of mind, and we're going to continue to find the others, Mr. President. On behalf of the FBI, sir, I just want to thank you.
Thank you very much, Gage. Great job. Very good. Very impressive. Pam, would you like to say something, please?
Pam Bondi.
President Trump, the men and women of law enforcement say 2 things to me repeatedly. First, you have taken the handcuffs off them and let them do their jobs, and you let cops be cops. That's why all this is happening. The director, the deputy director are working around the clock. All of these great men and women in the FBI, they have families at home, and they are working during a government shutdown right now. Many of them have small children. Many of them, I was talking to an agent this morning, many of them have babies at home, and they are working around the clock to not only keep our country, but our world safe. And that's what Operation Summer Heat did. Thank you, Director, and to the Deputy Director for everything you did on behalf of the Department of Justice, and you're going to continue to keep doing. And they set the stage for what we're doing in Memphis. You're going to hear a lot more about that, our joint task force next week, but they set the stage for Memphis. And last night alone in Memphis, there were almost 70 arrests. There were 12 guns seized. And there was a 70-year-old man arrested as a result of our operation in Memphis who raped a child under the age of 3. That one case makes everything we're doing worthwhile. So thank you all for being here on behalf of both of us.
Death sentence.
Thank you, President Trump.
Death sentence. Bring it forth.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. So this is a great day, and I think there's stats that the director talked about which are important, but I want to give 2 examples of what summer heat has done that actually will apply hopefully to everybody in this room. The first is for over 4 years during the last administration, there was a hotel in a town, the middle of a town in Alaska, that was being run as a drug den. There were over 1,000 calls to 911 over four and a half year period. There were multiple violent crimes, drug dealers, overdoses, and murders at this one hotel, ruining a community. Summer Heat went in there. It's not only arrested all the participants that were controlling the hotel, but seized the hotel. And so that's one example of what Summer Heat means to everyday Americans that just want to live in peace. The second example is a large narcotics trafficking group that was selling fentanyl in the state of Washington. They were shipping fentanyl and using commercial aircraft, putting fentanyl pills and powder onto in suitcases, flying them from the southwest border, mostly Arizona, all the way to Washington. It had been going on for an extremely long time, and the entire organization was arrested. And I say those two examples because it's easy to look at the board and see 1,000 arrests. How much different is our communities now compared to the past 4 years? But there's actual life examples. Every one of these arrests means that our streets are safer, and that's because of the work of this administration, of President Trump and Director Patel. So I will tell you, Attorney General Bondi and I are together every day with Director Patel, figuring out ways that we can continue to do this work, and it's not going to stop. Like the Attorney General said, and like the President said, this is just the beginning, or phase one, or a start, whatever you want to say, but it will continue on. So thank you, Mr. President, and thank you very much, Director Patel.
And Mr. President, just one last thank you from the men and women at the FBI. You found a way to get these individuals paid during a government shutdown, our 1811 agents. So on behalf of the FBI, it's a great debt that we owe you, sir. They're now allowed to pay for their families, so thank you.
And the military. Good.
That's right.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Any questions, please? Brian, go ahead.
First of all, I know the feedback I'm getting from the American people, they want to say thank you. Law and order is not an option in this country. It's a mandate. So I know the American people, thank you for that. In terms of the guns that have been taken off the street, do you have a number of how many guns were taken away from someone that had a prior felony or a previous crime that perhaps we can prosecute that? Because I know that wasn't the case under Joe Biden.
We don't take guns off the streets of people that are allowed to have guns. So every gun that we're taking off the street is because it belongs to somebody who is not allowed to have it. Could be a felon, could be somebody who hears illegally. There's all sorts of conditions. But if there's a gun taken off the streets by the FBI, it's because the person who has it is not allowed to. It's not somebody who's lawfully allowed to have it. So every single one of those guns were taken off of people that aren't allowed to have them.
And not including the FBI, all of the other agencies. ATF alone, since January 20th, has removed over 25,000 illegal guns off our streets, just since President Trump's been in office.
And Mr. President, if I could follow up on that, could there be any further conversation to have national concealed carry applied to actual DC? Like if you had a driver's license in Texas and you had a permit, of course you could drive.
Well, as you know, they've been talking about that for a long time. It's an interesting question. A lot of people feel strongly both ways, but we are talking about that, Brian. Thank you.
Mr. President, on Venezuelan boats, I want to ask you, why not have the Coast Guard stop them, which it is empowered by law to do?
Oh, shut up.
This way you can confirm who's on the boat and ensure that they're doing what you suspect.
Because we've been doing that for 30 years, and it has been totally ineffective. They have faster boats. Some of these boats are seriously, they're world-class speedboats, but they're not faster than missiles. But we've been trying to do that for years, and so much of the drugs, 25-30%, would come in through the seas. Right now we have, I would say, none coming in through the seas. In fact, I don't know about the fishing industry. If you want to go fishing, a lot of people aren't deciding to even go fishing. We've almost totally stopped it by sea. Now we'll stop it by land.
What's the next
But
step?
it never worked. It never worked when you did it in a very politically correct manner.
What's the next step in this war on cartels, and are you considering options, are you considering strikes on land?
Well, I don't want to tell you exactly, but we are certainly looking at land now because we've got the sea very well under control. We've had a couple of days where there isn't a boat to be found. And that, I view that as a good thing, not a bad thing. But we had tremendous amounts coming in by boats, by very expensive boats. They have a lot of money, very fast, very expensive boats that were pretty big. And the way you look at it is every boat that we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives. So every time you see a boat and you feel badly, you say, wow, that's rough. It is rough, but if you lose 3 people and save 25,000 people, these are people that are killing our population. Every boat is saving 25,000 lives, and you can see it. The boats get hit, and you see that fentanyl all over the ocean. It's like floating in bags. It's all over the place.
The fish are going
and
crazy.
It's a tremendous we're saving tremendous amounts of lives. Yeah,
Mr. President, on that issue.
I know you've talked about, I have a question for you, and then I also have a question for Director Patel. I know you talked about having some distaste for Boston recently. Is this one of those cities that you might be looking into, and can you give us a hint about other cities that you might be?
You're saying for where? For where?
For Boston.
Yeah, well, Boston has a bad mayor who at least is a reasonable IQ person. You know, most of them are low IQ. But, and they're so bad. I mean, what's going on in Chicago is just, you'd think the guy would say, hey, look, we have a problem, Mr. President. Could you come in and straighten it out? We could have that done in a month if we had their cooperation. It's going to be done anyway, but we could have it done in a month. Yeah, Boston, she's got 4 areas that are, wrong. And, somebody said, would we think about taking the World Cup away from Boston if they don't straighten it out? And the answer is yes. We have the right to do that with FIFA.
Ooh.
So if we think that LA is going to be bad, or we think that applies a little bit to the Olympics too, but we'll talk about FIFA first. FIFA is very hot. If we think there's any reason that, whether it's Boston or anywhere else, that they're not doing their job, we're going to take those World Cup games and move them someplace else.
Thank you. And then Director Patel, there's been so many conspiracy theories swirling around about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Do you have any updates for us, especially in light of all the online content that everyone's been talking about?
Viva Fred.
Hey, the FBI and the Department
thank you
of
very
Justice
much.
Facts, and we delivered in record
Viva.
speed a manhunt to capture Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin in 33 hours. And if you put that in perspective to Luigi Mangione or the Boston bomber, they took them 5 days and a police officer lost their life in their manhunt. We are running out absolutely every single lead. And the best thing we can do to honor my friend Charlie Kirk's life is to make sure that everyone involved is prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And that's what we're focused on, investigating the facts, not trading in conspiracy theories.
Okay.
Mr. President, thank you so much.
Thank you.
In light of China's export curbs on rare earths, do you view India as a reliable partner going forward? And are you planning to meet Prime Minister Modi in Malaysia? Are you open to talks in terms of
Yeah,
trade?
sure. He's a friend of mine. We have a great relationship. He just said that 2 days ago, as you know. We have a great relationship. No, we were not happy with him buying oil from Russia, because that lets Russia continue on with this ridiculous war where they've lost 1.5 million people, by the way. Russia's lost 1.5 million people, soldiers mostly. This is a war that should have never started, but it's a war that Russia should have won in the first week, and they're going into the 4th year. And I want to see it stop. So I was not happy that India was buying oil. And he assured me today that they will not be buying oil from Russia. That's a big stop. Now I got to get China to do the same thing.
That's a big
deal. That is relatively easy compared to what we just did over the last week in the Middle East. Middle East was 3,000 years, and we got it done. This is 3 years, and I think we'll get it done. I think that President Putin, I think he wants to get it done. We'll see. There's a great animosity between him and Zelensky. You probably have noticed, right? And it's, I think it's hurting the process. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, thank you. Curious, why did you authorize the CIA to go into Venezuela? And is there more information you can share about these strikes on the alleged
Well, I can't
drug
do
busts in
that,
the
but
Caribbean?
I authorized for 2 reasons, really. Number one, they have emptied their prisons into the United States of America. They came in through the border. They came in because we had an open border policy. And as soon as I heard that, I said, a lot of these countries, they're not the only country, but they're the worst abuser. And they've entered they've allowed thousands and thousands of prisoners, mental institution, people from mental institutions, insane asylums, emptied out into the United States. We're bringing them back, but that's a really bad, and they did it at a level that probably not, many countries have done it, but not like Venezuela. They were down and dirty. And the other thing are drugs. We have a lot of drugs coming in from Venezuela. And a lot of the Venezuelan drugs come in through the sea, so you get to see that. But we're going to stop them by land also.
Does the CIA
We
have
should.
authority to take out Maduro?
Oh, I don't want to answer a question like that. That's a ridiculous question for me to be given. Not really a ridiculous question, but wouldn't it be a ridiculous question for me to answer? But I think Venezuela is feeling heat, but I think a lot of other countries are feeling heat too. We're not going to let this country, our country, be ruined because other people want to drop, as you say, their worst. They have given us their worst. They've loaded up our country with prisoners, with mentally ill people that are seriously ill, criminally ill. Yep. And we're not going to take it. And so, I mean, it's just one of those things. And I can tell you, we've taken care of the sea. There's nobody, and we're watching. We're watching. And if we see it, we'll save it. Yeah, please.
On the ships, though, sir, there are Republicans and Democrats up on the Hill concerned that in the briefings they've gotten about those attacks, they're not necessarily getting information about who was on them and what exactly was on those ships.
Oh,
Can you
good Lord.
ensure that
But they are given
lawmakers will talk
information that they were loaded up with drugs, and
Come
that's
on.
the thing that matters. When they're loaded up with drugs, they're fair game. And every one of those ships they're not ships, they're boats, they're speedboats. They're extremely fast, record-setting type speedboats. They cost a lot of money, and they have a lot of money because they're drug sellers. But they know one thing, and they all have the same thing in common. There's drug dust. They call it drug dust. They call it fentanyl dust all over the boat after those bombs go off. And you can take along.
attack them, though, that they're a
We know before. We know when they go out. We know we have much information about each boat that goes out. Deep, strong information. Yeah, please.
There you have it.
Sir, you're going to have Volodymyr Zelensky here this week. What is your message at this stage of the war for him? And shy of tomahawks.
To who is that?
For Zelensky.
Yeah.
And shy of tomahawks for Ukraine. Are you considering other options, and will you speak with Vladimir Putin about
No, we're looking at other options. We are. President Zelensky's coming in. I'm not a fan of the war. I'm not a fan of the way it started. It should have never happened. It wouldn't have started if I were president. The election was rigged. And because of that, we lost a lot of lives have been lost because of that war. Not American lives, but if I can save a lot of lives, that's why I'm in it. I want to save lives. I've had 8 wars. The Prime Minister of Pakistan got up the other day, said so beautifully, says, you saved millions of lives. He told that to a group of people right in this office. He said the president saved millions of lives. And I think what he's referring to is the fact that that would have been with India, a nuclear war. That was getting very close. 7 planes, they don't talk about it, but 7 aircraft were shot down. In fact, we have the new ambassador to India right here. They're well represented. You better represent us, not them, okay? But Sergio's going to do a great job. He's going to do a great job. But no, we'll be talking about the war with him, and we'll be talking about, they want to go offensive. I'll make a determination on that, but they would like to go offensive, you know that, and we'll have to make a determination.
Can I follow up the question? Given you have the FBI director and attorney general here today, Jim Jordan has asked Jack Smith to appear in front of the House Judiciary.
You mean deranged, Jack? He's a deranged individual, yeah.
He's asked him to.
Well, they should. I'm surprised it takes so long. We're talking about violent crime. What about the crime against a political opponent? That's what we have to talk about, too.
Jordan would like to understand the full extent to which the Biden-Harris Justice Department weaponized federal law enforcement. What do you think the committee will find out, Mr. Smith?
I think it was the worst weaponization of a political opponent in the history of the world, let alone this country. And I hope that everybody's, they're involved in it. I'm not. I'm the one that had to suffer through it and ultimately win. But what they did was criminal. Deranged Jack Smith, in my opinion, is a criminal. And I noticed his interviewer was, I think that was Weissman. And I hope they're going to look into Weissman, too. Weissman's a bad guy. And he had somebody in Lisa, who was his puppet, worked in the office really as the top person. And I think that she should be looked at very strongly. There was tremendous criminal activity having to do. If we don't have fair elections in this country, we're not going to have a country. And I've said it from the beginning, fair elections and borders. And we need also fair press, because if you don't have fair press, it's very tough. And we've got the strongest border of anybody. Nobody has a border. We have a border where the numbers just came out again. You saw 0 people came in illegally. Now, we do take people into our country legally, but 0 people. But, you know, you're talking about a different subject. You're talking about political crime. They have committed massive political crime. I hope they're looking at Shifty Schiff. I hope they're looking at all these people. And I'm allowed to find out. I'm allowed to, you know, I'm, in theory, the chief law enforcement officer. But I have a very good, talented group. This is about something else. But I hope they're looking at political crime, because there's never been so much political crime against a political opponent as what I had to go through. They raided my house in Florida. It was an illegal raid. I have a lawsuit that was doing very well. And when I became president, I said, I'm sort of suing myself. I don't know. How do you settle the lawsuit? I'll say, give me X dollars, right? And I don't know what to do with the lawsuit. It's a great lawsuit. And now I won. It sort of looks bad. I'm suing myself, right? So I don't know. But that was a lawsuit that was very strong, very powerful. They raided illegally my house in Florida, Mar-a-Lago. They went through the drawers of my young son. They went through all of the cabinets and drawers of the First Lady. She walked in, she said, wow, what happened?
Freaks.
Because she's very meticulous, and this wasn't so meticulous as she looked into the drawers and she saw everything a mess. It's what they did against a person that just got out of office. And then you look at these corrupt people. You look at Hunter Biden. You look at the signature. As an example, the Europen. I just signed so many different things. An admiral, a 4-star general. I'm signing them left and right, the commissions. And by the way, I want to compliment John Thune and also Mike, our great speaker. But John Thune, all of a sudden I'm getting these things by the hundreds. I was getting one every 2 weeks. It would have been 4 years before you got them in more. You would have had some that didn't even get in, all because of Democrat obstruction. So John Thune did a great job. I must have signed 200 into the administration. We're just about caught up. It's amazing. And so compliments to John. He had to do some things that were very tough to do that he didn't want to do, but he was forced to do it by the Democrats. And as far as the shutdown's concerned, this is a Democrat Schumer shutdown. And he's trying to do it to get relevance back into the party because he's a loser. I've known him all his life. He's always been sort of a loser, but an intelligent one. But I think he's losing IQ points with time. I think that happens. I hope it hasn't happened with me. I know if it did, you guys will let me know about it very quickly.
Question on violent crime, sir. Here in D.C., a judge has given the 2 teenagers that beat up ex-Doge staffer Big Balls probation.
It's incredible.
And no jail time. Is this justice?
Jeanine Pirro is doing a fantastic job, and she is beside herself.
We need justice for Big Balls.
Because you have these radical left judges that they beat the hell out of this guy. And it was many people against this one guy who was really trying to protect his girlfriend. He didn't want to hood it over the door but they really beat him up badly. That just happened, right? Yeah. Wow, that's terrible. I think the judge should be ashamed of himself.
Yep.
That's a big problem. You know, they can do their job and then they go into a court and the people are protected by these, I don't know where they come from. Where do these people come from? Where do the judges come from? I want to compliment on behalf of Pam and Todd and all of us because, Cash, I think that Jeanine has done a fantastic job. And the case I heard was like flawless. It's a flawless case. They have them on tape. They have everything. And then a judge gives them a little probation.
Unbelievable. They could have killed him.
These are rough guys. And they're young. And if that happens, they're going to grow up. They're going to be real bad. They're going to cause a lot of problems.
Yep.
Yeah, please.
I'm sure they will. Yep.
Right. What were the conversations like with Prime Minister Modi and
I think they were great. He reported to me that
India.
He's a great man, you know. Modi is a great man. That he loves Trump. Now, I don't know if the word love, I don't want you to take that any different. I don't want to destroy his political career, okay? But you have to understand, I've watched India for years. It's an incredible country. And every single year you'd have a new leader. I mean, some would be in there for a few months, and this was year after year after year. And my friend has been there now for a long time, and he's assured me there will be no oil purchased from Russia. I don't know, maybe that's a breaking story. Can I say that? Would you say?
That's a big story.
There will be no oil. He's not buying his oil from Russia. It started. You know, you can't do it immediately. It's a little bit of a process, but the process is going to be over with soon. And all we want from President Putin is stop this. Stop killing Ukrainians and stop killing Russians, because he's killing a lot of Russians. Again, it doesn't make him look good. It's a war that he should have won in 1 week, and he's now going into his 4th year. That does not make this big so-called war machine look good. But he could make a settlement. We're willing to settle. I thought we had a deal. The hatred of the two leaders is very, it's an obstacle. It's an obstacle. There's no question about it. But I thought we had a deal 2 months ago. Who would think I created peace in the Middle East and can't get the two guys to settle? But I think we'll get them. But if India doesn't buy oil, it makes it much easier.
Yes, it does.
And they're not going to buy. They assured me they will. Within a short period of time, they will not be buying oil from Russia. And they'll go back to Russia after the war's over. Jennifer?
On the shutdown, sir, are FBI officials being paid right now? Are all the FBI employees being paid? And are all the
Well, that's what I understand. I hope so.
Thanks to you, everybody. Thanks to your great work, Mr. President. The 1811 special agents at the FBI are going to receive their paychecks.
Got a lot of people paid, actually. We got the people that we want paid, okay? And we want the FBI paid, we want the military paid. We got the people that we want paid. And I'll tell you, the Democrats, they don't talk about this. You know, we're getting rid of programs that we didn't like, but that were negotiated in, but we didn't like. We're terminating those programs, and they're going to be terminated on a permanent basis. And it's thousands of people, and it's billions of dollars. We're getting rid of a lot of things that we never wanted because of the fact that they made this stupid move. And they don't want to talk about it. You know, they have their day coming up. I hear very few people are going to be there, by the way. But they have their day coming up, and they want to have their day in the sun.
No kings.
But they should really make a deal. So what we're doing, I mean, they call him Darth Vader, but he's actually a very nice person, Russell Vogt. But Russell Vogt is really terminating tremendous numbers of Democrat projects. There's not only jobs, I mean, the project in Manhattan, the project in New York, it's billions and billions of dollars that Schumer has worked 20 years to get. It's terminated. Tell him it's terminated, Jennifer. All right.
On Hamas, sir, what is your understanding of the pace of returning the deceased hostages? Are you pleased?
Well,
with
they're
that
looking
pace?
for them. Absolutely. They're looking. So we have the living hostages all back. They returned some more today. It's a gruesome process. I almost hate to talk about it. But they're digging. They're actually digging. There are areas where they're digging and they're finding a lot of bodies. Then they have to separate the bodies. You wouldn't believe this. And some of those bodies have been in there a long time. And some of them are under rubble. They have to remove rubble. But there are graves, and some are in tunnels that died in tunnels that are way down under the earth. And the tunnels are like 3 feet. Can you believe it? 3 feet high. They lived like this for a long period of time. It's a horrible atrocity. At the same time, we, meaning Israel, but I knew everything they were doing pretty much. I knew most of the things they were doing, but they've killed probably 70,000 of these people, Hamas. And I said, it's time now. So we'll see what happens. We'll also see what happens. Your next question is going to be the weapons. We want the weapons to be given up, sacrificed, and they've agreed to do it. Now they have to do it. And if they don't do it, we'll do it.
We had the head of CENTCOM today suggest that Hamas needs to hurry up and disarm and follow your comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
That it was the head of CENTCOM saying that. Is that not a signal to Hamas, to the rest of the world, that at some point the U.S. military may more directly engage?
We won't need the U.S. military. We won't need it.
Why not just you?
Because we're very much involved in it. If we weren't involved, there wouldn't be peace. If we didn't destroy the nuclear capability of Iran, that deal would have never happened for two reasons. The Arab nations would not have felt bold enough to do it because you have a very powerful, at that time, Iran. It's not powerful anymore between what Israel and us did. Because, the attack was, if you look at it, we helped them very much. They will be the first to tell you, including shooting down thousands of drones that were coming into Israel. We shot them down. We were shooting them down like it was target practice, but we shot down thousands of drones and missiles also going into Israel. But between what we did to Iran that way with the, conventional, we will call it, and what see that beautiful plane, that B-2, I noticed it on the desk. I always thought it was beautiful, but I never understood it. Now I understand it. It took in hundreds of thousands of bombs in the form of two, but hundreds of thousands of pounds of bombs. And every single bomb hit perfectly. Then they sent Tomahawks in. They sent 30 Tomahawks on top of it. And that was totally, CNN said, well, maybe it wasn't as bad as Trump said, because I said obliterated. Obliterated is not a strong enough word, actually. And you saw the Atomic Energy Commission came out and said the word obliteration is very, very, think of it. They came in under potential fire. They entered Iran airspace late at night, in the dark, no moon. The moon was low for a reason. What time we picked it. Couldn't see anything. And they hit every target, and they weren't hit. Nobody saw that plane. That plane is stealth. Nobody saw it. The problem with that is it may be stealth today, but tomorrow it won't be. And we just ordered about 20 brand new B-2 bombers. It's unbelievable as a weapon. I know Putin, when I was riding with him in Alaska, we passed a lot of them. And he said, that really did the trick. I said, yeah, it did. It's amazing. The flying wing.
But you still foresee no reason for the U.S. military to get involved in Gaza?
No, I don't see that. No, I think we're going to handle it very well. We'll be helping Israel. But we have other countries that are now. We signed, many countries signed. And many of those countries relatively are very strong military powers. And Hamas has no support. See, Hamas had the support of Iran, and now Iran says, don't get us involved. The last time they got them involved didn't work out too well. So they used to have the support of Iran. Today, they're trying to survive. When I heard the reports 2 weeks ago, Iran's looking to build a nuclear weapon, I said, don't worry about it. They got a lot of things they want to do before nuclear weapons. I said, the last thing they want to do is a nuclear weapon. It didn't work out. And if they did a nuclear weapon before they got even close, that site would be attacked and it would be wiped out. Yeah.
Mr. President, you're meeting with President Xi in a few weeks.
Yeah.
If you can't come to an agreement or a deal at that meeting, are we in for a sustained trade war with China?
Well, you're in one now. Look, we have 100% tariff. If we didn't have tariffs, we would be exposed as being a nothing. We would have no defense. They've used tariffs on us, but we've never had anybody sitting in that chair that felt the need to do it. And they've allowed us to be $37 trillion in debt, et cetera, et cetera. Tariffs are a very important tool for our defense, for our national security. If we don't have tariffs, we're not going to have national security. As an example, if you look at Pakistan and Iran, I told them I was in the midst of negotiating a trade deal with Iran, and Pakistan was going to be in line. And because of tariffs, they all want to negotiate much differently. We were making a good deal. And then I heard that they're shooting at each other. And I said during one of my conversations, are you guys going to go to war? Two nuclear powers we are thinking about. I said, here's the deal. You go to war, I'm going to put a 200% tariff. I'm going to stop you from doing any business in the United States. I said it to both of them. Within 24 hours, the war ended. That would have been a nuclear war. And again, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, who was here 2 weeks ago, said that man saved many millions of lives in front of a whole group of people because he thought it was going to be war. But when it came to war or having to pay massive tariffs, the tariffs overrode. That's why it's so important. Not only the money, we're taking in trillions of dollars, not only the money, the power to keep peace, the power to be used for good is enormous. But a lot of people didn't understand tariffs. It's also made us very rich. We have a big case coming up in the Supreme Court, and I will tell you, that's one of the most important cases in the history of our country. Because if we don't win that case, we will be a weakened, troubled, financial mess for many, many years to come. I don't even know if survivable is a good term. And if we do, we're going to be the most powerful economic country in the world. And all we're doing is using them as a defense against what took place for many years. China would charge us tariffs. It was incredible, but we weren't allowed to charge. And we're allowed to do whatever we want. We just had presidents that didn't want to do it for whatever reason. And it was nothing. But of the 8 wars, I was saying 7, of the 8 wars, I would say tariffs are directly responsible for me ending 6 of them, 5 or 6. Without the tariffs, you have wars raging all over the world. With the tariffs, other than Russia, we have no wars out there. And we've made a lot of good friends, too. Tariffs are so important to our national security. If we don't have tariffs, we don't have national security. Our country would suffer a level that, because they use so strongly on us. As an example, the European Union, they won't take our cars, they won't take our agriculture, they won't take anything, but they send their cars in, Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen, by the millions. We don't send any cars. They don't take them. They were tariffing us out. Agricultural products, they don't take our agriculture. They want their farmers to do it. I understand that. But it was very unfair, and they were tariffing our product. They're keeping out by using tariffs. And we didn't use them, but I used them. And now we made one of the great deals with your $650 billion they pay us. And we've evened it out. It's really a good thing to see. And you have to understand, they've all signed. Japan, South Korea. I mean, South Korea, $350 billion up front. Japan, $650 billion. And they've all agreed to it. They're all happy. But before, it was a total ripoff. And if we don't have the use of tariffs, we have no national security. This country will have no financial security, will not have national security. And the people that brought the lawsuit are people that are aligned with foreign nations that are now being treated fairly, as opposed to just ripping us off and ripping us asunder. So, but if we are not allowed to use what other people use against us, there's no defense. It'll be a disaster for America. That's why I think I'm going to go to the Supreme Court to watch it. I've not done that, and I had some pretty big cases. I think it's one of the most important cases ever brought, because we will be defenseless against the world.
It's true.
Okay?
It's true.
You'll go to the tariff case?
Did you have one? Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to ask you about the Georgia Senate race. I know it's very early, but there's several Republicans in that field that are vying for your endorsement.
A lot of good people in that field.
Yes.
I know all of them, actually. I haven't made a decision on that, but you have some very good people in the Georgia Senate race.
Well, Governor has endorsed.
No, I know. The governor has. He's spoken to me about it a lot. He likes that candidate a lot. And I understand that. I haven't made a decision yet. But I'm following that race very carefully. I think it's very important for Georgia to get a real senator, because the senator they have now is a horrible senator. He allows all the crime, all the borders. You have open borders. I mean, his whole philosophy is a disaster. That's not representative of the people of Georgia. I know the people of Georgia. I won Georgia 3 times, but they say twice. Okay, I won it very big the last time. And I won it big the first time. And I won it big the second time, but we had criminals that didn't allow, I hope they're going to go into that. I hope they go into the votes which are being stored in Fulton County and take a real look at those votes, okay? Because I won it the second time, too.
You won the presidency.
But I know Georgia very
3
well. I
times.
love Georgia. Those people are great, and they deserve a good senator, because the man they have now is a weak, ineffective person. Okay.
President, I wonder what you make of it.
By the way, you won Georgia 3 times.
Yeah, I agree. Do you agree with me?
I
And
do.
he's the media.
For someone that
He's the
spends
media.
a lot of time in Georgia, I believe you won that. I really have a question about
The word believe isn't strong enough, right?
Yeah,
You
I
know.
there you go.
It's true. I know I won, too. We have the great Newt Gingrich. Newt, you agree with us? Good. Otherwise, I'd have him dismissed immediately from the room. You know, his wife, as you know, is becoming an ambassador to a great country, Callista. So congratulations. And we're going to take a picture. And the only reason I'm doing it, he speaks so well of me. He said, I'll go down as the greatest president in history. And then he blew it. He said, I'm not sure if I put him above Washington or Lincoln. So I'm not that happy about that, dude.
I've got a question about the weaponization of the DOJ. The media often says your department is weaponizing the DOJ.
Yeah. That's the opposite.
It's the opposite. Todd, you represented President Trump and probably the greatest weaponization of the DOJ by Alvin Bragg. You know firsthand, if you can describe what you saw under the Biden administration and how they weaponized the DOJ.
Well, I mean, I think it's hard to describe
what happened those last 4 years against President Trump. Alvin Bragg, a local prosecutor, his office staffed by somebody from New Jersey. Jack Smith, picked as a special counsel, staffs his entire office
the audio
with
guy?
prosecutors. And then there are countless things that happen, all in writing, most of them on the docket, that require no explanation except a complete abomination of the place that the Attorney General might run now and Director itself. So when people talk about this department weaponizing, it's embarrassing. Because there's no scenario in which you can look at what we're doing, restoring justice, doing the right thing in every single case, and say that that's weaponization, and yet remain eerily silent about what happened for the past 3 years. I mean, you read these articles and giggle, because it cannot be true that people really think that what they did to him, not once, not twice, I'm still counting 3, 4 times, but we're the ones that are weaponizing. So this man is not weaponizing the Department of Justice. We're not weaponizing the Department of Justice. It's the opposite. I mean, and also, nobody questions what I'm saying because it's true, because we all lived the past 4 years. So listen.
They never want to bring up the details, but I watch the fake news, and oh, he's weaponized, and he wants to send them to prison. He wants all this. They indicted me like 5 times. I took a mugshot. Who would have thought it turned out to my favor? Because it was a good shot. But I had to take a mugshot. It's right out there on the door. New York Post, front page of every paper in the world. I had a mugshot. They wanted to send me, nobody says that. They say, he's acting very, very tough. He's acting unfair. Let me tell you, if they've been nice to anybody, it's to those criminals, because they are so good having to do with all of the things we're talking about today with violent crime. But if anything, I think this Justice Department has been so respectful of the law, because the other Justice Department, with Rita or Lisa and all of that scum, real scum, what they did to the political opponent of a guy that has a seriously low IQ. Now, in his case, it was low based on his career, but it got real low, okay? It was descending rapidly. But what they did to go after his political opponent is legendary, worse than any third world country, banana republic. And what we're doing is nothing. Are you kidding? Nothing. They write stories. Why aren't they doing this? And we'll leave. I don't have to leave it up to them, but I choose to at this moment at least. But there's never been anybody treated in the history of politics. You know, they say the 2 worst treated presidents by the media, etc., was that man right there, the late, great Abraham Lincoln, and this guy right there, Andrew Jackson. They say Andrew Jackson was treated terribly. They give him number 1 and number 2, but that was before I came along, Newt. I say I have number 1 times 10. Nobody's been treated like I've been treated. And I did a great job. You know, we had a great first term. And we had one of the most successful economies in history, et cetera. I rebuilt the military. We did a tremendous amount. The last part, we had a horrible thing called COVID, and we handled that well. We made ventilators for nations all over the world. We did a great job. Probably never get credit for it. Look at the therapeutics, the Regeneron, all the different things, the vaccines, all the things we did. We did a great job, but we had to focus on that. But we had the best economy in the history of our country. We're blowing it away right now. Look at the stock market. It hit another all-time high today. That's 48 days out of the few days that I've served. 48 days have already hit record highs. And we have, maybe most importantly, the number, we have now, I was saying 17, it's over $18 trillion is being poured into our country. It's because of the election and because of tariffs. Without the tariffs, you wouldn't have probably 18 cents. It's because of the tariffs, because there are no tariffs if they build in our country. And they understand that. So we have medical companies coming over. We have the AI. We're dominating China in AI. Everybody said that's impossible. We're dominating. I'm letting these massive plants build their own electric generating plants. They're becoming utilities in addition to everything. Maybe they'll make more money with that, who knows? But they're building their own electric because we have an old grid. You wouldn't be able to do that. And we're dominating China. We're dominating with AI, which seems to be the new big thing. That's the new internet. That's the new whatever. So we're very happy with the job we're doing. I'm very happy with the job they're doing. But when you tell me about attacking a political opponent, there's never been, and I'm a legitimate opponent. I watch my son. He's got the #1 best-selling book now. My son Eric, he's a wonderful kid. That guy spent so much time with subpoenas. He got more subpoenas than anybody in the history of our country. Think of it. And he's an innocent, good boy. He's a good kid. He's always been a good kid. All of my children are good. They went through hell. My children went through federal grand juries on a hoax. Think of it. You have Adam Schiff and Hillary Clinton and others make up a hoax and then wanting to put, so they know it's a hoax, and they go before the press, say Donald Trump Jr. will go to jail because of what he's done with Russia. I'll never forget, I get a call from my son Don, and he said, Dad, I'm being accused of something with Russia. I don't know anything about Russia. He didn't know anything about, think of it, how bad they are. They say he'll go to prison for the rest of his life. He knew nothing about it. On a hoax, the Russian hoax, Russia hoax, on a story that they made up. And they made it up in order to explain why Hillary Clinton lost an election that she lost by pretty good numbers. The second one, actually the second one was even better, but the third one, this one was too big to rig. It was just too big to rig. They would have rigged. They tried to rig it. But think of it. They want to send my children to jail, but they were after Don in particular. I'll never forget Adam Shifty Schiff, a total crooked guy, lying in Congress, making up a phone conversation that I have with you, totally made up. Then when he heard it was taped, he wanted to disappear. And Nancy Pelosi went crazy because they wanted to impeach me based on the conversation that was made up. When they heard the tape, everybody, I won it unanimously in the Republican Party. I got every single vote, something that never happens, and I beat it. But think of it, they want to put my son in jail for something that they made up. So they know they made it up. And they say he will serve the rest of his life in prison. These are sick, bad people. And don't tell me about us going after them. If anything, we've been very, very soft. I wouldn't be that soft, I'll tell you that. Thank you very much, everybody.
He flipped it closed. He has been soft. I wish they would be harder. I wish they would. Honestly. Ladies and gentlemen, do not go anywhere yet because we're going to do a little bit of a recap, and I have a special surprise for you here in the next 3, 4, 5 minutes after we do a recap of today's breaking bombshell news. Everybody, thank you very much. First off, I want to say, make sure to subscribe and to like today's broadcast on Rumble, Matt Morse TV, YouTube, Matt Morse TV. Everybody, really, it does help a lot if you like the show and subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot. Everybody, thank you very much. Folks, let's go over what really, this was a big, long show, and it's easy to kind of get lost in the weeds here. What really is the big breaking news of the day? Well, let's go over that right now. First off, President Trump and the FBI over the last 8.5 months, they have been able to arrest 30,000 of this nation's most violent criminals. Oftentimes we talk about illegal aliens, the deportations, violent illegal aliens, narco traffickers. The unfortunate reality is we have a lot of homegrown domestic criminals, American citizen criminals. And let's just kind of cut the crap here. A lot of them are in highly urban, dense urban areas. It's a lot of gang violence. It's a lot of urban youth shooting each other, gang violence, turf wars. And so we're talking about downtown Chicago, downtown Memphis, downtown Atlanta, Georgia. Places like this, really crime-infested, gang-infested ghettos is where a lot of this American gun crime and gang violence is going on. And so this is the problem that Trump has tasked the FBI with solving over the last 8 or 8.5 months since getting back in the White House. They have arrested 30,000 or so of this nation's most violent criminals, almost all of which are violent gang members. Which, by the way, What that means is that they have doubled their FBI arrest numbers. For years, it's been 15, actually over doubled, because it's been 15,000 arrests per year. In 8.5 months, the Trump administration has done 30,000 arrests in 8 months. So that number might be bumped up to 40,000 by the end of the year if the trend continues, which is about 2.5 times the Biden rate. And we're just getting going. We're just getting going. President Trump also, something big he said was the arrests they've made so far, it's just kind of been, this is actually a super important thing to make note of here. I'm just thinking about this now. These arrests in these violent ghetto areas in these inner cities, Trump said, these are just kind of the beginning, and it's paving the way for what we're going to do next. And it makes sense when you think about it. If Trump wants to flood Atlanta or flood Chicago or flood Memphis with ICE and DHS units to start carrying out mass deportations, it would make sense, yeah, you do need to arrest all of the violent, illegal, gun-wielding gang members first. You need to get the gang members, the really, really violent ones, off the streets before you start trying to, carry out mass deportations in these cities. And so that has been the task. It's like, get rid of the violent ones first, use the FBI to do that, have an elongated process, really methodical process to get these ones off the street, and then you flood the cities with ICE and DHS. And so you can tell Trump has really Trump and the FBI, they have a longitudinal plan to crack down on this. Now, the other thing that makes a lot of sense here is that you start to realize that crime, violent crime, gang violence, illegal alien violence, this is an option. We don't have to live like this. Americans living in America, guys, we don't have to live like this. All of this crime that has gotten absolutely out of control, it was a deliberate decision. This was a decision by the progressives, a decision by the Biden administration. It is still to this day, a decision that is made by sanctuary city mayors and sanctuary state governors. They're just saying, yeah, you know what, crime is okay. Yeah, gang violence is okay. Yeah, no, illegal alien child molesters, it's okay. Doesn't matter. Whatever. Illegal alien human traffickers, illegal aliens bringing fentanyl in the country and killing Americans, over 100,000 every single year. It's not a big deal. Whatever. We're not going to crack down on it. We can crack down on it. We do not have to live like this. We do not have to have these problems. They have chosen to turn a blind eye to this stuff. In this country, we have good, safe towns with a police force that actually does their job. And then we have crime-ridden ghettos where police forces do not do their job under progressive leadership literally every single time. So that is one of the really 2 or 3, I'll say 3 big bombshells of today's President Trump FBI Oval Office press conference. Let's move on to the next one. The next one is that President Trump, I don't know if you guys caught this, President Trump has given the green light to the CIA to start carrying out ground operations in Venezuela. In fact, I would be surprised if they're not there right now. The CIA, under Trump's directive, is on the ground in Venezuela, undercover black ops type of stuff, secret Delta Force, I don't even know what to call it. And what are they doing? They are taking apart and dismantling all of these narco-terror compounds. That's what they are doing. They're dismantling narco-terror compounds, presumably assassinating narco-terrorist leaders would be my guess, blowing up facilities. That's kind of what they do. And you know what? Listen, this Latin American narco-terrorism has gone on for a long time, and millions, at this point, the number is in the millions, maybe God forbid, maybe tens of millions of Americans over the last couple decades have lost their lives as a consequence of this unfettered Latin American narco-terrorism. So as far as I'm concerned, shut that down as well. Now, piggybacking on that point, President Trump said that he's also considering, he's not shutting it down, considering, I think it's going to happen. I would bet money it's going to happen. Targeted missile or drone strikes also on the mainland of Venezuela, taking out narco-terror compounds. Okay, so he's got CIA on the ground. Also, Trump has not only been taking out these narco-terror boats, as we've seen. Did you see it was the member of the liberal media saying, why are you blowing up the boats? Can't you just try to have a nice, polite conversation with them? President Trump, have you considered just politely asking them to stop trafficking narcotics into our country and killing Americans? Can't you just have a nice conversation with them? Listen, shut up, dude. Shut the hell up. Shut up. Shut up. No, what we're going to do is blow them up. What we're going to do now is blow them up, which is what President Trump has been doing, and that's been working to a large degree so far. And so President Trump is saying that not only are we going to blow up the boats, not only are we blowing up boats, but we are blowing up the cartel operations, the narco-terror compounds on the Venezuelan mainland as well. Do you agree with that? I do. I do. I think it's probably long overdue. So that's the second big bombshell. Now, the third big bombshell of the day, and maybe the gravity of this will be lost on some people, but really it is a big deal. India has finally agreed to stop buying oil from Russia, to stop buying energy from Russia in the form of LNG, liquefied natural gas, and crude oil petroleum. Okay, this is something that India has been doing for a very long time. President Trump has been trying to pressure India for 9 months now. The first day he got in office, he said, India, you need to stop buying energy from Russia. The reason why is because India has been Russia's largest energy purchaser insofar, well, not insofar, but which has put them as in the position to be Russia's number one war financier. By buying Russian energy, India, in a roundabout way, has been financing the ongoing war in Ukraine. Pretty much every other country outside of China, that's a different dynamic, but pretty much every other country has now kind of cut its ties with Russia insofar as energy purchases go. India has been the one final country dragging its feet, beyond China, that is, and it's a lot of money. India has been subsidizing, they've been effectively paying for Russia's end of the war, and Trump wants the war to come to a close. You might remember probably 3 months ago now, Trump put a huge amount of pressure on the European NATO member countries, on the European Union countries. Trump worked out a big deal with the European Union, with Ursula von der Leyen. A big condition of that deal was Europe is no longer going to be buying energy from Russia. Now they're going to be buying energy from America. Drill, baby, drill. We're going to sell that energy to Europe. We're going to pull Europe away from China, and we're going to pull Europe away from Russia. By the way, not only energy with Russia, but a big condition of this European Union trade deal 2 or 3 months ago was that Europe, the European Union, actually is now investing hundreds of billions of dollars in American manufacturing. The European Union is paying for American manufacturing jobs, facilities, factories to open up. And the reason why is because Trump wants to pull them away from China. Trump has a long-term plan of isolating Russia temporarily to shut down the war. After the war is done, it seems like Trump wants to bring Russia back into the fold and rebuild alliances. Okay, fine, but we got to end the war. Beyond that, Trump has been trying to pull every other country around the world away from China, re-domesticate American manufacturing. We all saw during early COVID, this is 2021, America under Biden's leadership was almost entirely dependent on Chinese manufacturing. Well, as you might remember, a global pandemic broke out, and we had a shortage of personal protective equipment. Respirators, masks, toilet paper, all types of medical supplies, etc. All of this stuff came from China. And there was a shortage of this in 2021 going into 2022 because we got all of this stuff from China and we were in the middle of a health crisis, whatever you want to call it. And so Biden called up China. They said, listen, hey, we need more respirators. We need more hazmat suits. We need more masks. We need more toilet paper. What did China say? China said, listen, hey, we've got a pandemic in China. We're trying to take care of our own people. You can go screw yourself. We're not going to sell you anything. We're keeping the toilet paper for ourselves. We're keeping the respirators for ourselves. We're keeping the masks for ourselves. America, F off, is what they said. And we had huge shortages for 6 to 18 months, depending on the category of product you're talking about. This was it was a national security issue. And so obviously the COVID pandemic wasn't really as serious as a lot of people thought it was going to be, thank God. But it puts this thought in your brain. If America is wholeheartedly dependent on Chinese manufacturing, what if there is a war that breaks out? What if World War III does break out? What if we do have a conflict with China over Taiwan or the Southeast Pacific Sea? What happens if some terrible or maybe a real serious pandemic that is 10 times worse than COVID? What happens if we don't have any domestic manufacturing? We rely on China for everything, and then we are, God forbid, at odds with China. Well, what happens is we are screwed. And we got a little bit of a tiny baby dose of that in early 2021 and 2022. And so President Trump is a smart guy. He said, listen, being so heavily reliant on Chinese manufacturing, this is a legitimate national security issue. This is a crisis that needs to be solved now. And so that's what Trump is doing. That's what Trump is doing. I mean, and this is, of course, beyond all of the highly predacious economic behavior that China has been engaging in for decades, taking advantage of the American economy, tariffing us. We're not tariffing them. And it's not, China hasn't only been doing this to us, they've been doing this to Europe as well. Okay, so China, with this trade deal with the European Union, Trump has actually put the European Union in a much better position than they were in prior to him coming back in the office also. So if you're a European, you should be thanking China for this new European Union trade deal also. That's a good deal for you because he's pulling you away from, he's like giving Europe an opportunity away to break up with this abusive partner that is China. So that's a good situation. So folks, those are really the big bombshells of the day. Now, like I said, I have a big surprise for you guys. Okay, but before I tell you, I want to say everybody make sure to subscribe and to like today's show on YouTube and on Rumble. The big surprise is we're going to do something special. We're going to wrap up on YouTube. We're going to continue over on Rumble. This broadcast is going to continue probably for another 90 minutes or 2 hours on Rumble exclusively. I do want to build up the Rumble presence, so thank you everybody for bearing with me. Thank you for the understanding. There was a video that I've been wanting to watch with you folks as a community. It was recently put out by Steven Crowder. He went into a black barbershop and has a debate about racial dynamics here in America. He is a white man with a bunch of black men in this black inner city barbershop debating racial dynamics. I would like to watch that. We're going to do that exclusively on Rumble. So I want to say thank you everybody on YouTube for tuning in. We're going to hop on over to Rumble. We're going to do a little bit of an exclusive today, a little bit of a special show. Everybody on YouTube, we're wrapping up. My channel on Rumble is Matt Morris TV. Same name, Matt Morris TV. Everybody, thank you very much. If you're not going to come over to Rumble, I hope you do. But if you're not, I'll see you folks on YouTube tomorrow again. Tomorrow we're going to be back. We're doing the same show, but we're going to continue on Rumble now. Everybody, thank you on YouTube for tuning in. I really do. I love you guys. I sincerely appreciate it. If I don't see you over on Rumble, God bless. And I'll see you folks tomorrow. Okay, so I'm going to go offline on YouTube right now. And then we're going on Rumble. All right. Rumble, ladies and gentlemen.